Of the many problems generated by our economic and industrial progress, climate change is one that dominates media headlines these days. The current warming trend of the Earth's atmosphere that started with the Industrial Revolution has given scientists, politicians, and individuals around the world a cause of great concern. Dramatic reductions in seasonal sea ice at the Earth's poles, rising sea level, shifts in precipitation patterns leading to extended droughts or flooding, and more frequent extreme weather events are just some of the effects of global warming and changes to the global climate. Often, people think that problems such as climate change are to be solved by the government or scientists. However, we need to be aware that each of us is involved as a part of the problem and part of the solution. What children learn today will shape tomorrow's world.
Who doesn't like the film? Why?
Climate change education for sustainable development, therefore, has a central role to play in helping the general public and especially next generations to understand and relate to the issues, make lifestyle changes to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and adapt to the changing local conditions. While climate change literacy at all levels and in both formal and non-formal settings is needed, instilling climate change awareness and understanding at a young age is ultimately the best way to change behaviors and attitudes for a longer-term impact. To ensure relevance and uptake, climate change literacy should be oriented according to the local context and prioritize passing traditional knowledge and practices to learners. Nepal, nestled in the southern slopes of the Middle Himalayas, is one of the most affected countries from the climate change perspective, with many vulnerable villages and households. Climate change affects the poorest and vulnerable people, and Nepal is likely to be highly affected. Moreover, with poverty and illiteracy, it has posed difficulties for a sustainable climate change adaptation planning programs. Most of the farmers in the villages are poor, illiterate, depending on small land holdings that do not support their large family with sufficient food. One of the main reasons for less crop production is because of scanty rainfall and rank topography. In order to address this particular issue in a sustainable manner, Helvetas Swiss Intercooperation in Nepal, with technical inputs from Center for Environment Education Nepal (CEEN), decided to pilot a climate change literacy program named as COPILA in 2 of its project districts, with 3 schools in Ramechhap since July 2011, and 1 school in Sindhupalchok district from June 2012, with the hope of gaining valuable lessons for developing a sustainable strategy and mechanism for scaling up in other project areas at a later stage. During the project period, the teachers received training that enabled them to facilitate student participation in the in-depth understanding of global climate change and its impact at the local level, with associated issues along with diffusion, mitigation, and adaptation methodologies.
Say that. Useless. We all understand by the term climate change.
The teachers extended the relevant topics from subjects like science, social studies, environment and population studies, language and economics, and then developed small projects for their children to undertake at the household and community level. This enabled the students to become analyzers of situations and risks, designers and implementers of projects, researchers into risks, underlying causes and new technology, participants in community decision-making and development, communicators of risks, their causes and management options, mobilizers of resources and people, educators and facilitators in climate change-related activities.
बानी व्यवहारहरू कसरी सुधार्न सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरा छँदैन सर।
परिवर्तन हुँदा चाहिँ हाम्रो समाजमा विभिन्न किसिमका रोगहरू लाग्दा रहेछन्। यस्तो विभिन्न किसिमका रोग पनि घट्छ। त्यही भएर हामीले पनि आफूले पनि जलवायु परिवर्तन सम्बन्धी सचेत रहेर पनि त्यसलाई प्रयोग गर्नु।
मेरो घरको परिवर्तन तल्लो घरकाले देख्छ, तल्लो घरको परिवर्तन माथिल्लो घरकाले देख्छ, त्यस हुँदै समाजले देख्छ। समाज परिवर्तन भएपछि हाम्रो राष्ट्र परिवर्तन हुन्छ। यस कुरालाई महत्त्वपूर्ण ध्यानमा राखी यसको निराकरण गर्ने उद्देश्यतर्फ जानुपर्छ।
काकी हजुर छोरी के भयो? हेर न यहाँ आइसक्नु भएको छ। हेर न सबै सागसब्जी मरेर के छैन, माटो पनि मरेर कि जस्तै भएको छ। यहाँ मात्रै हो र काकी? यो माथि यो बलसे उठे यो मार्यो भने निस्कियो त्यस्तै भएको छ। ए हो र? हजुर। अझ भन्यो भने त अब यी तरकारीहरू सप्राउनलाई त मलजल चाहिहाल्यो। अब मलजल गर्नलाई त चाहियो गाई बस्तु पाल्नु परिहाल्यो। गाई बस्तुलाई घाँस काट्न वनमा गयो भने वन नाङ्गै छ, कहाँ ल्याउनु घाँस? एक च्यान्द्रो भेटिँदैन। अब पानी पनि खर पाल्न परिहाल्यो। अब पानी खानलाई भन्नुहुन्छ भने खोइ मान्छेलाई त खान नपुग्ने बेलामा पानी गाई बस्तुलाई कहाँ ल्याउने? त्यही भएर नि यो पुग्यो। अहिले त पानी सबै आएन त। छोरीहरू पाऱ्यो त्यो डाँडा टुटेर डाँडा माथि हेर त। त्यहाँ पहिला वनजङ्गलहरू कति धेरै थिए, घाँसहरू पनि कति धेरै थिए। अहिले त तालु जस्तो भएको रहेछ।
The 4 climate change schools were devoted to the understanding of the natural system through simple monitoring of selected environmental parameters such as precipitation, temperature, tree flowering and fruiting, pest distribution and frequency, appearance, hazard distribution and frequency including wind, hail, flood, cloud bursts, etc. Through interviews with local community members who have experienced changes in the local weather and climate for a very long time. The children also developed climate diagrams, essay writing, street theater, poems, songs, symposiums, etc. In each school, a weather station was installed which provided the school with temperature and rainfall data that was communicated to the farmers. In the meantime, through local institutions like community forest user groups, irrigation user groups, mother groups, etc., farmers groups were formed for working towards climate change adaptation activities.
को मान्छेहरुलाई चेतना अलि आइदिनु सकेको छ हामीहरुले पनि भरसक अब सरहरूले भनेको कुराहरु हामीहरु गाउँमा बच्चाहरुलेबाट सजिलो पनि भन्छ माध्यम त्यसपछि नि हामीहरु पनि गएर केही सम्झाउन बुझाउन
जलवायु परिवर्तनले हामी अहिले 16 धुरीले कार्यक्रम गरे अनुसारले चाहिँ सबै उन्नत गरेर भने जति गरेर देखाउन पाएदेखि केही बढी बढाउ हुन्थ्यो भन्ने मलाई लाग्छ। अब हामी 10 जनाले बनायौं र 5 जनाले बनाउन नसक्दा पनि उलाई हामी केही सहयोग गरेर पनि बनाउन लाउने
को जुटान गर्नुभयो, हामीलाई नि पढाउनु भयो। यसको जोश जाँगर सकेसम्म फैल्याउने छौं र
These farmers groups were sensitized and trained on climate change issues and adaptation process which also help them to be more open to any queries put by their own children or children from their village undertaking research activities, thereby strengthening and implementing the behavior change process with a better climate understanding. This behavior change process is hoped to help an individual to become climate smart to counterbalance the changes that are currently occurring or that are to occur in the setting of rural villages in Nepal in future. Overall, the focus is on agriculture and food security, forestry and biodiversity, water and energy, health, disasters and infrastructure development programs. Lok Bahadur Nepali of Piple village in Katajor VDC in Ramechhap has been happily living here since his birth.
यहाँ काम गर्ने मान्छे अहिले 300 दिन लागे भनी अघि 4 महिनामा बन्दी गर्ने अहिले त्यस्तो छन्.
He is, like many others, victims of climate change impacts. The climate change sensitization workshop for farmers like him and others has strongly added value to whatever they have already been doing at their household level through the support of other ongoing projects in their village.
पानी हालेर तरकारी खेतीमा प्रयोग गर्ने टमाटरमा पहिला सबै बारी हुँदैन हुन्थ्यो फोहोर मैला उब्जा नहुने उब्जा नभएपछि त्यो प्लास्टिक भएको ठाउँमा के खाली माटो मात्रै हुने त्यही मकैको बोट कोदाको बोट तोरीहरू केराहरू जे लाए पनि त्यहाँ त उम्रिँदैन नउम्रिने अनि त्यो सानो सानो पसल पनि थियो पहिलादेखि अनि हामीले जलवायु 3 दिन अस्ति तालिम लिँदाखेरि चाहिँ अनि सरले सिकाउनु यस्तो गर्नु भनेर भन्नुभयो अनि त्यो पनि घरमा अनि आएर फोनमा पनि सिकाएर अनि मैले पनि यस्तो जम्मा पार्न लगाएको छु अब गाउँमा नि सुरुवात भइसकेको छ.
As believed, anyone who misses environmental education today will be a blind individual tomorrow in thought and actions.
सुगा रटाइको आधारमा भोकन्ते विद्याबाट चाहिँ हामीले धेरै नम्बर ल्याएर मात्रै हामी सफलताको आकलन गर्न सक्दैनौँ. यो चाहिँ अहिलेको शैक्षिक जगतमा देखिएको एउटा परीक्षा प्रणाली नै सबै थोक होइन. परीक्षाले मात्रै हामी सम्पूर्ण विद्यार्थीहरूको चाहिँ अब त्यो चाहिँ मार्किङ गर्न सक्छ भन्ने चाहिँ म मान्यता राख्दिनँ. त्यसकारणले यो परीक्षाको नम्बर मात्रै सबै कुरा होइन र हामी
The project has provided a wonderful opportunity for students to be at the heart of their local communities, showing example of positive behavior to combat the impacts of climate change. Hence, through COPILA, climate change education for sustainable development has actually started proving how strongly environment education impresses and changes the attitude of an individual to change not only oneself but his households, neighbors and the entire village through a concentric circular diffusion model.
विद्यालय बाहिरबाट भने सबै क्षेत्र अभिभावक अनि त्यसपछि विद्यार्थी परिवार समुदाय सबै संरक्षण गरे एक आपसमा चाहिँ यसमा सहभागी हुँदो रहेछ भन्ने कुराहरु हामीले महसुस गरेका.
प्राकृतिक विभिन्न विपत्तिहरू यसैको कारक रहेछ. त्यसकारणले गर्दाखेरि हामीले घर गाउँमा गएर पनि यो काम गर्नुपर्ने रहेछ भनेर विद्यार्थीहरूले त्यो किसिमको प्रभाव गाउँमा पारेका छन्. त्यो कुरा मैले अनुभूति गरेको छु. पानी व्यवहार सुधार्नलाई पहिला अब व्यक्ति आफैबाट सुधार नगरिकन हुँदैन. अब सबभन्दा ठुलो कुरा के चाहियो भने सकारात्मक सोचको विकास हुनु पर्यो हरेक व्यक्तिमा. हामीले अब प्राकृतिक प्रकोप निम्त्याउने खालका क्रियाकलापहरू गर्न हुँदैन.